Once you shift from the mindset of being a designer to a business owner, then you'll realize that a real business launches products consistently and on schedule. That is the difference between the company that is able to scale up and grow and the artist who is always consistently in kind of a little bit of a grind.
Welcome to Thrive by Design, the podcast for ambitious, independent jewelry brands looking to profit from their products. Get ready to make more and sell more doing what you love without spending every single waking minute doing it. Hey, and if you're a creative, fashion, or product-based business, I want to welcome you to the show. I'll be dropping big tips on launching, growing, and scaling your business so you can spend more of your precious time using your creativity to make money. You ready? All right, let's do this. Welcome to the Thrive by Design podcast, episode 207. Hey there, it's Tracy Matthews, Chief Visionary Officer over at Flourish and Thrive Academy and Creatives Rule the World. And I'm excited to be here because I love bringing on some guests, and I'm on a guest spree at the moment. And I was introduced to today's guest a couple of weeks ago by one of our students, Mary Geraldine, who will be on the show real soon. I am really excited to have Austin Brauwner on the show of the E-commerce Influence podcast. Austin is incredible. First of all, he's very clearly spoken. And we had this conversation just because Mary introduced us and she was like, I think that your listeners would really get value out of some of the things that Austin talks about. And I was like, well, let's get on a call and chat about it. And we had this great conversation about customer lifetime value. So I invited him on the show to talk a little bit more about customer lifetime value and how you can increase your customer lifetime value online and off. Because you've heard me talking about this a lot. It is so much easier to sell to a customer who knows, likes, and already trusts you than to try to acquire a new customer. And what we're trying to do is really maximize our impact with everything that we're doing so that our job becomes a lot easier as we're trying to grow and scale our business. And I loved some of the things that Austin talked about because he was like, I was like, preach, my friend. You're like kind of preaching to the choir here, like saying a lot of the things that I feel like I'm drilling into your heads often. But we had some really interesting conversations about a jewelry company called Pura Vida Bracelets and what things that they're doing to actually increase their customer lifetime value. And we talked about a lot of different brands and basically situations and strategies that you can pull from some of the brands that Austin's working with to implement into your own business. And I'm really excited about it. So we're going to dive into today's episode really soon. But before I do, if you want to increase your customer lifetime value, in particular online, and you're trying to scale your sales online, and potentially you even already have a successful business selling to stores and other places, I'd love to help you out with that. Because here's the deal. As we know, as things are changing in the world, the business of wholesale is changing. Doing a million shows every single week is exhausting. And I say every single week because I love to exaggerate a little bit. But even if you're doing a show every single weekend, don't you want your weekends back? Don't you want to stop investing in those expensive trade shows that aren't getting you an ROI? And don't you want to maybe maximize your customer lifetime value selling direct to consumer and growing a business model that is recession proof, that you have control of when things shift in the economy? Because as we know, the business of jewelry is changing and we got to stay up with the times. So if you have consistent sales already and you're already doing at least $50,000 to $100,000 in revenue, I'd love to invite you to apply for a strategy session for our SOS coaching program. For those of you who don't know, SOS is our premier coaching program designed to help you get consistent sales online, in particular online, using your website as a tool. Now, this program is wonderful for designers of all types. So if you're someone who is trying to scale a custom jewelry business and you're working direct to consumer, this program is wonderful for you. In fact, we have several designers, including myself, who've used the methods that I teach to maximize their impact and grow their custom jewelry business direct to consumer upwards of $35,000, $40,000 a month in revenue, which is pretty awesome for a one-person business. Pretty amazing. If you are someone who is trying to scale your online sales and get more reach from your email marketing and your automated funnels and your win-back campaigns and all those things. And if you don't even know what those things are, and you're trying to get them set up because you would love to sell more direct to consumer, then we can help you out with that. Because at the end of the day, this program is designed to help you build a really strong revenue stream coming from direct to consumer online sources to build your email list, to help you get your email marketing dialed in and right, to help you increase your customer value, your lifetime customer value, and to help you build a business that excites you and enlivens you. And a lot of times when I see designers coming to us for help, they've had success in other areas, but they don't understand why their website is not working for them. So let us help you with that. So if this sounds interesting to you, I'd love to invite you to apply to a strategy session so that we can determine if SOS is a good fit for you. You can head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/strategy to book your free strategy session and apply for the SOS coaching program and jump on a call with Natasha, our customer success expert. We'd love to hear from you. Head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/SOS and apply today. Okay, let's dive into this interview all about customer lifetime value with Austin. Austin is the host of the E-commerce Influence podcast and the founder of Brand Growth Experts. He works with top brands in the world, including MVMT watches, Dr. Axe, Pura Vida bracelets, to help them define their marketing strategy, scale their advertising, and hire the team needed to get to the next level. In fact, we talk a lot about Pura Vida bracelets in this episode. You're going to really love what we have to talk about. And Austin is also the founder of Join the Coalition, which is his coaching program designed to help people with strong e-commerce businesses actually scale those businesses and do some really fun things once you have the foundational stuff set in place. So let's dive in to today's episode with Austin. Well, I have a very special guest on the show today, Austin Brauwner. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Tracy, so happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm excited to interview you. Maybe like a month or two ago, one of our students, Mary Geraldine of Garden of the Sun, sent me a Facebook message. She was in our mastermind group years ago, or a couple years ago, and she's just one of our top students over at Flourish and Thrive. And I was super excited because she's like, you have to interview this guy, Austin. He's doing amazing stuff with email marketing and funnels and all things e-commerce. And so, of course, I wanted to learn a little bit more about you. So we jumped on a call and chit-chatted, and we had a great conversation. And what came out of that was not only you're going to come in and potentially teach for our SOS coaching program in a couple of months, but also the conversation about customer lifetime value, which is something I don't think people really think about, but it's a message that we've been talking about. We talk about all the time, because the truth is you don't really need 1 million customers. You just need to keep the ones who buy from you on the regular happy and keep getting them to buy from you. So I wanted to invite you on the show to talk a little bit more about customer lifetime value. And I have a feeling this conversation is going to go into a lot of different directions, but welcome first and foremost. And thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, no, really happy that Mary connected us. Mary, she does some really cool stuff on her site with auctions and really interesting things that are, pretty cool. So I'm actually going to have her on my podcast as well after she posted some cool thing in my membership. So yeah, really happy to be here and happy to talk to you about all this stuff.
All the things. Let's do it. Well, before we kind of dive in to the customer lifetime value conversation, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your journey and all the things?
Sure. So, I kind of got my start in the online world after college. I thought I was really into like finance after college. I ended up moving over to Macau, China, lived over there and did a Fulbright fellowship.
Wow.
I thought I was going to move in to be in finance over there. But my kind of world was changed. I went to this conference and met a bunch of entrepreneurs, and I was like, this is really interesting. I think I want to become an entrepreneur. And so rather than staying in Asia, I moved back and I started working with this company, one of the first employees at this company that was selling healthy vending machines to basically as a franchise across the country. It was a really good time because Michelle Obama was pushing the Let's Move initiative. And I got involved working on email marketing with the CMO. I think there was at the time 2 employees. I was one of them. And we developed an email marketing system that allowed for a lot of inbound to come in. And we had inbound leads coming in all the time. And then we segmented them. We took them in different directions and ultimately took them to a salesperson who is closing $100,000 deals. We're talking about customer lifetime value. Like you said, you don't need that many for the vending machines. Yeah, as a franchise. So you don't need that many customers if you're selling $100,000 deals. And it was really interesting to me. And we actually, it became quite a complicated system that really worked well. And we scaled the business up, and we had I think they did about 15 million before I left. And we had 1 salesperson because we had so many automated emails going out. We got second place in Infusionsoft Ultimate Marketer. And that really first got me super excited about the power of like leveraging digital marketing, right? And and being able to take a business that's small and create emails and be able to make it seem a lot larger and more powerful. And so I left that company, and I had a couple friends who were working down in San Diego starting e-commerce businesses. One of them was a sunglasses company, and right next to them was another company, a jewelry company called Pure Vita Bracelets. They were right next to each other basically in the same office, just like right next to each other.
Just an office, not like a market or something that they were selling?
No, so they had their own little market there. They were selling a store, and then they also had an office there. So they had both. And so I thought, we took this really interesting stuff that I was using for B2B. And I was like, I think we could probably do this for more B2C type e-commerce businesses, people that are also selling, in markets. Both of them were going on the road and selling, and then also selling online. And so we started looking at what they were doing, capturing emails, putting people through different email sequences, looking at abandoned cart emails, browse abandonment emails, and really trying to focus on maximizing customer lifetime value with email marketing. So the reason why it's so important, one of the big reasons it's so important is because what we realized is it was very expensive for them to acquire customers, but not very expensive to have a second and third purchase if it came through email, because you're not really spending anything else. So that was a big focus. And I worked with this company called Blenders, and then I dove in and worked with Pure Vita Bracelets for, 2 or 3 months at that time to get their email marketing dialed in. And that was kind of the start. I started working to help increase lifetime value, got really involved in this e-commerce space, and then continued to kind of work as a consultant, built an email marketing agency, built a podcast where I was interviewing all founders from hundreds and hundreds of different brands, learning what they were doing, and ultimately continued that and built a membership of it's a coaching community of e-commerce businesses that are growing, and we're doing training and helping them to maximize customer lifetime value, increase average order value, and grow their business. And that's kind of been my focus over the last 5 years now.
That's amazing. So you kind of touched on this concept of customer lifetime value. Basically, customer lifetime value is from the second someone enters your funnel and buys something once, like how many sales can you get out of them over the long term, right?
Yeah, and not necessarily even sales, but just revenue.
Yeah, revenue.
Right? So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before in our pre-conversation, we were talking about customer lifetime value in different cycles, because for e-commerce, it's a little bit different than for people with a wholesale business. Because, if I look back to when I had my wholesale company and I was selling to stores like Twist, the customer lifetime value of a store like Twist or Sundance might be hundreds of thousands of dollars, whereas an individual consumer, it might be, a couple of thousand over the course of, a few years. And so we may or may not touch on that a little bit, but I think it's really important to understand, when you're acquiring customers and when you're bringing people into your funnel, especially when it comes to e-commerce, like to understand like really the customer journey and like how you're kind of moving them through that process. So what's the best way, Austin, do you think, to kind of determine or like figure out what the customer lifetime value of your customers are?
Sure. It's a great question. And it's a question that brands of all sizes struggle with, right? They really do. It's a really, really important question, but brands of all sizes struggle with this question because it's difficult. And depending on where you are in your journey, that the way you think about lifetime value and calculating customer lifetime value is going to change. If you're somebody who's just starting and you're starting to sell and you've got a little bit of traction, you've been going to different shows and selling, and you start to feel like you may be doing $100,000 and $50,000 to $100,000 in sales, and you've been in business for a year and a half. That is you're going to have a harder time calculating customer lifetime value than a business like Nike who's been around for years. Because they've got all the data and they can show this is how much people over time spend. And the problem when people are just starting out that they struggle with is, how do I project? Okay, we know right now that they buy something for $150 and 20% of those people come back and buy again in the first year for another $100. So we can kind of make an estimate of customer lifetime value. But how do we actually project into the future what people, because we're planning on growing our businesses, we're going to put out new designs and we don't really know what our customer lifetime value is going to be. So again, depending on where you're at, it can be a little bit of a challenge to figure it out. So what I would recommend first is people to think about, where am I in my journey? Am I a year in? And I can go in and it's relatively simple to calculate, right? You look at the number of customers that you have, how much they've spent, and you've got an idea of what the average customer is spending with you. Now, the problem is trying to figure out, okay, if the average customer is spending this, now we throw in some complications. One of them may be that half your accounts are wholesale and they're mixed in with the e-commerce side, right?
Yeah.
And so you've got 5 people that have spent $15,000 or $18,000 over the last year, and then mixed in with a bunch of other people who've purchased through the Shopify site and have spent somewhere between $400 and $600.
Yeah.
That's very different customers.
Totally.
So normally what I'll work when I'm working with people or advising them on this, I'll say, go through, export your customers from Shopify and separate out the wholesale from e-commerce and look at it separately and say, all right, this is how many people we've purchased. You can look and do kind of a cohort analysis and see the people that are spending more rather than less. There's a few apps that can help you do this as well. One of them is called Lifetimely. Which is Lifetimely. Yeah, it's a profit dashboard and customer lifetime value like analytics dashboard. The problem though with this, again, is that if you have your wholesale people in your Shopify dashboard because you've run some of them through the Shopify platform, it's going to, no matter what type of app you've got, it's going to screw up your readout. So, first things first is get clear with the difference between wholesale and the direct to consumer. Separate that out and then start looking into that and seeing, how much have people spent, and then get real with where you're at in your business. Are you planning on rolling out a lot of products in the future? If you are, then you need to think, okay, people may have, average lifetime value after a year and a half is 150, but we know we're going to be rolling out other products. So we can maybe estimate that it's going to be higher than this in the future.
Awesome. So what are some of the things that you recommend to sort of increase that customer lifetime value?
So there are a lot of different things that a business owner can do to increase lifetime value. First and foremost, I would say the biggest lever that you've got is continually adding new quality products. Right? If you don't think about anything else in your business, you don't even want to calculate this number or do anything like that. If you just consistently launch products that people want and desire, your customer lifetime value is going to go up. Because
I want to thank you for saying that, by the way.
It's something that's very much overlooked, right? You can get so deep into the idea and the metrics of like, we need to do this, increase average order value, all these different things. But sometimes I work with companies that they've built a wonderful, really successful business by doing something very simple, which is they capture emails, they build new products, and they send emails to their subscribers and customers about the products that they're launching. And because people love their products, their customer lifetime value increases dramatically.
Yeah. It's so great. And one thing I'm just going to like interject here for just a second, because this is something that we come across like designers who are like trying to find their way and figure things out. They're like, well, do I really have to launch new collections every year? And I'm like, yes, because once someone buys once, like they need something else to buy. And it's so much easier to sell to someone who's already bought from you than it is to try to find a new customer. And this is like a lesson that I think that everyone needs to hear. It's like it's not about overdoing the products. It's like you need enough new products. And we see some really interesting things, I think, these days from a consumer standpoint. And I don't know, Austin, if you work with customers or companies, who are doing the same thing, but like companies like Tomorrow Melon, where back in the day to launch a new shoe collection, it would have been this huge ordeal to launch 20 or 30 new styles or new SKUs every single season. But instead what she's doing is just dropping like new designs, like a new design a month. And it's not like these big old collection launches, and they're targeting you hard, like the previous buyers, hard with ads and emails, basically like trying to understand like the things that you like. And that shoe company is doing it so well, because I don't buy, I guess I kind of am buying more from ads now, but I've purchased like 4 or 5 pairs of shoes from her in the last year just because of that, because of the way that they're rolling out new product. And so it does work if you get good at this and you learn how to like really either like release new collections a couple times a year, or release like capsule collections or smaller items that you can deliver new product every single month or every couple of months. You're going to have a much better time being able to get more sales from a fewer number of people, grow your business, make it easier on yourself, than it will be to go deep in a bigger collection and just launch it once a year.
Exactly. I 100% agree with that. And it also comes down to a mindset shift. I think the biggest mindset shift that you can have is owning the fact that you're a business owner versus, I'm going to use the example of a designer, because once you shift from the mindset of being a designer to a business owner, then you'll realize that a real business launches products consistently and on schedule.
Yep.
And that is the difference between the company that is able to scale up and grow consistently over time, and the person and the artist who is always consistently in kind of a little bit of a grind, because they're not thinking like a business owner, because the business owner knows that the way to grow is to consistently launch products and to do it to the people who are most likely to buy, like you mentioned, who are their previous customers. And that's, I would say, the biggest difference between that I've seen is the people that really embrace that. They are the ones that continue to grow their business.
Have you ever been frustrated with your website platform and you're not sure why it's not working? Well, I want to ask you, are you using Shopify? Shopify is the premier e-commerce platform that's designed to help you scale your e-commerce jewelry business with robust integrations and ease of use. In fact, for many, many years, I was a WordPress junkie and recommended WordPress to everyone, but I am a Shopify convert, and I endorse and recommend Shopify to all of the designers, not only in our SOS coaching program, but in the broader Flourish and Thrive community. Because if you want to do serious business online, you don't want to have to invest a ton of money hiring an expensive programmer to try and fix and tweak things. You want a system that is all-inclusive, that's robust, that's going to do the work for you. That's why we always recommend Shopify for our designers who are ready to scale and grow their e-commerce business. So if you want to jump on Shopify with a free trial, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/Shopify and get your free trial today. I think also like thinking of like your customer ascension model too. It's like maybe they come in, like maybe Pura Vida is a good example of this, and we can talk a little bit about some of the things that they're doing since we were discussing it before. But maybe someone comes in and buys one of their $14 bracelets, but then they get hooked on the Jewelry of the Month Club, and they're hooked in for, $25 a month, and they're scaling that to hundreds of or thousands of people every single month and just building a business that's like basically on autopilot. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that goes back to your question again, which is a way to increase customer lifetime value. And you see, it's a very popular way right now. People who are in the e-commerce space, the direct consumer space, everyone wants to create some sort of a monthly subscription because recurring revenue is it's also but back to your point, I totally agree with you about the person launching every month. Basically, if you create a box, a subscription type service, all that's doing is pre-selling a launch every single month because you have to create something and sell that through the box. The difference is you're just pre-selling it. So, look at a company like Pure Vita Bracelets, which is they do a wonderful job with design, right? They are designers and they're very visual and they create beautiful jewelry, but they're also really, really good business people. And one of the things that they launched, this is to be honest, one of the only companies that I have seen who has really had success. You would not expect a jewelry company to be able to sustain a monthly box because people have to, people would argue, at least with me when I was thinking about it, like people would argue with me saying, well, what if you don't like the jewelry? It's all visual. So what they did is they created a monthly club that gives people basically 3 exclusive bracelets, and they give them I think they charge like $14.95 a month, and they say the value is $50. So they're giving people a valuable offer. And
so they get 3 bracelets in the box for $14.95?
Yep, for $14.95 a month.
Oh my gosh, you could just give them away as gifts at that point.
Basically, you can give away them as gifts, exactly, if you don't like them. But what they focus on is not necessarily the jewelry. They focus on the style. So the selling point is the style. Hey, we have stylists who pick new bracelets that go together, and you get some styled bracelet every single month, or styled bracelets that work together. So they're not really selling the bracelets. They are a little bit, but really what they're doing is they're selling the style. And it's, only $14.95 a month. So again, if you don't like it, it's not that big of a deal. But it's one of the ways they've been able to had no recurring part of the business and scale it up to be part of their business. The subscription part, I think, is, I don't know, my guess is it's the largest part of their business at this point.
We have a couple designers working on a subscription model right now. Some of them have pulled it off really successfully, and others are still trying to figure it out. And I love this idea of just like, we have like, it's almost like, it's kind of like a Stitch Fix model in a way where maybe, if there's a way you could customize it catered on preferences, that would be awesome if you have the bandwidth to do that. But it's also cool because they're just like, hey, we're styling this. It's $50 value. And at that low price point, it makes it a no-brainer. I think it really works when you have a volume of customer, though. It's hard to get something like that off the ground if you have only 100 people on your email list or something. So it's really about being able to scale the offer.
Well, also you have to think about it in 2 different ways. I totally agree with you. Think about like Stitch Fix or what they're doing. There's really 2 options. One, it's the customized boxes, and the other one is the uncustomized boxes. The uncustomized boxes, they customize and change every single month. Like you have 2 models you could go with. You've got the one where you change the box every single month. It's the same for everyone. There's no changes. Everyone who's on the list gets the same box. Or you go with the other one, which is people can change whatever they want in it and go that direction. That one's harder to pull off because there's a lot more moving parts.
Yeah.
But again, that's, the companies that are the really large e-commerce companies who are doing this are investing in their infrastructure to allow you to be able to change the boxes and that sort of thing. So there's two options. I think the best, I love the option of the simple monthly box that's curated. You sell the style.
Exactly. Sell the style. That's it. And I think Pure Vita, if you guys go on their website, they're going to bring like a blast of a bunch of people stalking their website. I was on it this morning. I think that the website design is super duper clean. And Austin, I was listening to one of your podcasts about user-generated content. It appears to me that they're doing a lot of like almost what appears to be user-generated content, even if it's like a professional photo shoot, because, their demographic is like, girls in San Diego or Costa Rica or wherever who are like probably in their 20s, who are stacking these bracelets, living the beach lifestyle, going surfing, maybe.
Yeah.
and live in the Pura Vida, whatever it is. But they really do a good job of kind of capturing that vibe with imagery that kind of looks like someone took it on their iPhone.
100%. And that's something that when you are just starting out and haven't spent a lot of money on advertising, if your business can grow on paid social, and I think a lot of the people in your community are listening here are going to be in that boat where they could grow off paid social. The more money you spend on paid social, the more you realize that user-generated content is going to outperform non-user generated content.
I know.
It's I have a friend who runs spends a lot of money. He's a media buyer, spends a lot of money. And he got all these professional photos done for this company he works with. And he put them all together. He built out a big ad set. He's spending, thousands of dollars a day on this. Yep. And then right before he went live, he took his iPhone, he took the product and stuck it down on the ground next to a window. And he took a picture of it on his iPhone and put that as a split test ad versus all the professional images. And that was the one that won. The one that took him 2 minutes to make on a little, board with good lighting. The user generated content won. And he was like, sometimes this is so frustrating. You try so hard and it comes back to the user generated content. But to that point though, the reason why it's successful is because it connects in a native way with whatever platform that you're advertising on. And Facebook and Instagram, it's all the other ads are user generated. Oh, not ads. All the other posts are user generated. So if you want to blend in and perform well, you can't break the mold and put some, super flashy, highly designed thing. It's just going to stand out. Where if you flip over to YouTube, and if you ever look at what performs on YouTube as advertising, it's highly polished videos because that's the platform. It's different than Facebook.
Totally. Yeah, I loved listening to that episode of yours. And I'll link it in the show notes as well, because it was really fascinating to me, because it's something that one of the steps and like something that we recommend for like a post-purchase sequence is like snap a selfie and send it to us, and then we'll use it or post it and tag. And I think a lot of designers get frustrated, but over time people they get frustrated because maybe their customers won't do it or they're shy. I know my jewelry customers are a little bit shy. So anytime they send me a picture, they like cut their head off. So it's like, no one knows who it is. But at the end of the day, I think that when you can get those selfies or those pictures of people like genuinely wearing it, it becomes like almost just like a form of like a review or social proof just from the picture, even without any words.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, just put yourself in the mindset, especially with jewelry. It's like people want to see what it looks like on. That's what matters, not necessarily what it looks like on a white background. It's like, what does it look like on someone's finger or on their wrist? And that's why I think they do it. That's why I think they focus on that.
That's awesome. So my next question is like, what are some of the biggest missed opportunities you see that people making, like when they're trying to sell more, or things that people are not doing that could like literally like move the needle really quickly?
Sure. So I'll start with e-commerce and talk a little bit about like a Shopify store. And then we can also talk a little bit about wholesale, because there's some good stuff there as well. So around on a Shopify store, it really comes down to very simple numbers. If you can think about these numbers, it's average order value, right? Looking at your average order value, how much people on average are spending. It's repeat purchase rate. So how often people are repurchasing. And you can look at like, if you start with average order value, one of the quickest ways that you might be able to increase your customer lifetime value is by providing some sort of a bundle. So taking your products, and if you've got them all spaced out and you have to buy them one by one, you can combine them together. Things that look good together could be combined.
Bundles. I love it.
We talk
about bundles a lot. I love it.
Yeah. Bundling is a great strategy, and one that I've seen take business from. Actually, I'll give you an example. There's a deodorant company who was really struggling to acquire customers at a cost that was acceptable for them. It was natural deodorant. And because they were selling, I think it was like an $8 product or something around that. And so what are
Cost them $8 to get their $8 sale.
Yeah, it cost them too much. And so they're like, well, what if we just bundled it and only sold 6-packs? And they just bundled it, only sold 6-packs. And it went from being a product they couldn't scale on Facebook to a product they could scale on Facebook because they were able to it didn't increase the amount they had to spend by that much. So it's one simple thing to do. You can look at upsells and cross sells. Sometimes, if you have products that go well together, you can upsell them either post-purchase with something like one-click upsell or Cart Hook, or the Bold app on your on Shopify.
Cart Hook and the Bold app. I think we've recommended Bold before.
So yeah, Cart Hook's a little bit more advanced, and I would recommend it for companies who are. You got to be at multi-million-dollar range to be able to afford it. But it's really top of the line for a post-purchase upsell. After everything is done, they put their credit card in, they press order. Then you have the opportunity. One more page pops up, and it says, "Hey, would you like to add this to your order?" And they don't have to put their credit card back in or anything like that. They can just add it, buy it right there. And I've implemented that with a couple of clients, and have seen the highest we've seen is almost a 16% increase overnight in average order value. Just boom, right there. And so that's a really good tool you can use. Other opportunity, by far, the biggest missed opportunity is not emailing consistently. Yeah. And that one, which I know you talk about a lot, continuing to email, getting moving from a mindset of I'm going to email when I have time to I'm going to email on our schedule that we've agreed upon and do it weekly or, twice a month, or if you're a larger business, sometimes twice a week, 3 times a week, because that's going to drive more revenue.
Or if you're like many of the people that I subscribe to, 3 times a day.
3 times a day, yeah. I mean, there's a reason, right? So when you study the brands that are growing the fastest, and especially the ones that are launching products consistently, they are emailing all the time because, again, back to the customer lifetime value side of it, your cost of acquisition from email is going to be so much lower than your cost of acquisition from any other channel. If you're spending on paid social, it becomes very expensive very quickly. And we don't live in a time like we did 5-6 years ago where organic reach mattered. It doesn't matter anymore. You're not going to build a business off organic reach on Instagram or Facebook. It's just not going to happen. Not the way that it used to. And so you have to figure out these other channels. Sometimes it can be Facebook Messenger, but email still drives the most revenue for all of my clients. And that's what I'd say the biggest missed opportunities would be.
Emailing regularly. Thank you, Austin. High five through the computer. On a final note, is there anything else that you think can be done to really improve order size, order value, or any other ninja tricks that you love right now?
Well, I have been in the Shopify ecosphere for a long time. And, you always hear of things that work for a little while. Here, these are always the things people love. I hesitate because whenever you share them, they get burned out really quickly. But here's one that I've seen, a couple of things that work well. So one of them is something called priority processing, which I don't know if you've talked about this at all in the podcast. But priority processing is something you can add to your checkout page. And you could say, hey, for $5, this is an example. I've seen a couple brands do this, maybe like 5 or 6 brands, but they're kind of on the cutting edge. So they say for $5 extra, we can give you priority processing, which means we'll ship out either today or we'll move your order from the bottom of the pile to the top of the pile and ship it out quicker.
So good.
And that right there is a $5 boost. You don't need that many people, especially if you're playing the lifetime value game where you're trying to acquire people on Facebook or Instagram and then have increased, you may acquire them at a break even and then continue to drive sales through email. That could be the difference between a customer coming in and you making money or losing money in the first purchase. So that's one that I've seen people doing that's interesting. And then they actually, move to the top of the pile. One other little thing you could look at, I think people often don't think enough about shipping.
Yeah.
And the impact that shipping has on on conversion rate, on what types of shipping people would choose. So I'm not always an advocate for free shipping, people prefer free shipping over non-free shipping. That's pretty clear. But one place, if you don't have free shipping, that you can look at your website and kind of evaluate would be just looking at the way you describe your shipping. And so make sure you're very clear about how you communicate, when it's going to get there, what service they're using. A lot of times you'll see people don't really describe the shipping options, and sometimes it can lead people to a lower shipping option or a higher one. So be really clear about that.
I like that because, there's a lot of sometimes I'll be shopping and I'm like, oh, I need this in 2 days. I think that's why people love Amazon Prime so much, because you can, and sometimes I feel bad buying stuff on Amazon, but I know that if I need the specific product, I'm going to get it in 2 days. And I think the cool thing is when you're on a website, I'm going to use Net-a-Porter as an example, they have free shipping that will take 7 to 10 days. Who wants to wait 7 to 10 days for a purchase, right?
Yeah.
They have 2-day shipping for maybe $18.95. And then they have in New York City, where I live, priority same day delivery for $25. So you have free, that's going to take 3 weeks or whatever to get here.
Yeah.
Or 2-day, which is only, $5 less than the same day in-person hand-carried delivery by 3:00 or whatever. And so I'm sure of that option. And they just have drivers that they pay to deliver stuff all around the city. And it's not, probably the expense to them isn't nearly as much as the uptick in money for their business with that service that they offer.
You got to imagine it has a big impact on conversion rates, because when people are there looking and they see 7 to 10 days, they're bouncing if they need it earlier. And giving them the option can help you out there.
Yeah.
One other thing I'll mention about wholesale, because I feel like it's another option, another place where there's a lot of, if you don't have some sort of a CRM that you're managing, the kind of the follow up for wholesale accounts, really spend the time and get one. Use something like Close or Pipedrive, or whatever one you might have some other ones that you recommend. But just the consistent follow up with accounts can be the difference between somebody placing an order once a year or 3 times a year. And again, if you're smaller and that's a big part of your business, it's very easy to let that part of your business go because you're too busy. But if you can put in even 30 minutes a day in the morning, just following up with people, and if wholesale is a big part of your business, that can be a big driver of increased CLV.
100%. Thank you for that. Because that's what I'm like, mornings, get your stuff done. And then the rest of the day, do the other things.
Yeah.
Generating activities in the morning, including follow-up.
But it's hard. It's hard. And I struggle with it too. It's everyone does it. I don't necessarily, I have to make non-negotiable times with myself that even then I still negotiate with myself. So
I know, exactly. I'm like, I'll push this off till later.
Yeah.
Writing the book and wait. Just kidding. Awesome. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Where can everyone find you?
So there's basically 2 places you could find me. If you want to hear more podcasts, I release a podcast every single week about kind of more advanced traffic and conversion strategies for e-commerce businesses. It's called the E-commerce Influence Podcast. And I, have put out, I think I'm at 201 episodes now. So maybe 202, something like that. So you can find me there if you want to listen to the podcasts. If you want to get kind of coaching and help growing your business, you can head over to jointhecoalition.com, which is my coaching community for e-commerce businesses and marketers.
Awesome. Austin, thank you so much for being on the show today.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. And I hope everybody, feel free to reach out if you guys have questions. I really, really enjoyed the conversation.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the show today. What a great episode. I loved interviewing Austin. It was one of my favorite episodes that I've done in a very, very long time. And make sure that you go and find him. We'll have all the links over in the show notes over at flourishthriveacademy.com/episode 207. And if you haven't done so yet and you enjoy this podcast, I want to ask you a huge favor. Please rate and review the show. Head on over to iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast and give us a little rating and review, because this helps platforms like iTunes push out our show to other people who might want to listen to it, who would get great value. And if you have a friend who is trying to build their jewelry business or their fashion business or any other product business, and they're trying to get their e-com and branding off the ground, please share this podcast with them. It really helps get the word out about what we're doing over here at Flourish and Thrive Academy. Thank you so much for listening to the show today. This is Tracy Matthews signing off. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It's my mission to help thousands of creative businesses inside and outside the jewelry space use their creativity to make money. Make sure that you're subscribed to Thrive by Design on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever podcasts are played. And we'd love to hear what you think. Please rate and review the show. And if you're inspired, please share this with your friends. Cheers to seeing you flourish and thrive.